Why'd you invite bears in here, dude? It's weird.
It's like rule number one.
We got a little Popsky in the clothes for a sec there.
Less than 10 minutes. Let's go. Cash equivalents and marketable securities were $6.4 billion at the close of the first quarter.
Let's fucking go.
It's Q1 2025 earnings. The estimate is $750 million. Per share estimate is 0.08. It's 8 cents.
Results are out. Oh my god.
And here comes the volatility. Yeah, net sales are $732.4 million compared to last year's 881.8.
Adjusted operating income was $27.5 million for the period, compared to an adjusted operating loss of $55 million. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, huge turnaround.
When was the last time we were positive in Q1?
Never. They purchased the Bitcoin between May 3rd and June 10th for cash.
I am curious about what is the long-term strategy with Bitcoin?
I want more Bitcoin.
Say, let's fucking go. Let's hear it.
So I got with a sick ass click and went all
Let's
out.
fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go!
Fucking go.
Let's
Fucking go!
Let's fucking go!
That's dope. All right.
Cash rules everything around me. Green, get the money. Dollar bill, yo. Cash rules everything around me. Green, get the money. Dollar bill, yo.
Swami, you out there, bro? How you doing, man? You been good? First, man.
What's up, bad robot?
Diamond 869, what's up, bro? What's up, 50? Curious Cat up here. Mozart. Lodo. Ben Werman, how you doing, man?
Boys.
Magnificent. You out there, bro?
See, I wanted to see an EPS beat. We more than doubled that.
Yeah, that's coiling to strike is what that is.
Ryan Cohen, chairman of the year. I'll do it again. I'll fucking do it again. Thanks, everyone, for checking out the show. I'm Sean Fitzy,
I'm Pauly.
and they are the Echo Chamber.
What up?
Let's fucking go!
Yo!
Let's go!
Let's fucking go.
Sure.
Go.
Nice. Yeah. So it's Q1 2025 earnings, and we are doing, our regular show from the Echo Chamber voice chat, the stage. So we got lots of folks here. So what's up, everyone? I'm going to try to say hi to everyone real quick. What's up here? Tree Fitty, Boiler Polly, Bad Robot,
Hey.
Bobby, Magnificent, Diamond 869. What's up, bro? Lodo, Ben Werman, how you doing, man? Curious Cat up here, Mozart, and Swami Seas. We got everyone up here down in the audience. What's up, New Snake? CS93, Oh Garrett, Instinct, Wally, Spurs fan, Jay Murdoch. What's up, dude? Watchtower, you gonna come up? Hortoni, Bull or Busty, Canadian Bio. If you're down there and you want to come up, come on up. It is 3 minutes to close. We should expect to see the report about 5 minutes after. Right now, it is, what is GameStop at? $30.13, and we are just under green on the day. So, what's up? What's up, Paulie? You doing good, man?
Doing all right, all things considered. So I just want to thank everyone for their support over the last couple of days. Just with everything going on with our dog, and also want to acknowledge how silly I am. I said Indy was 8. He's 9. I don't know why I said 8 on the show on Sunday. Kind of spaced on his age there for a second. But no, he's totally 9. But otherwise, they're doing okay, all things considered. But have not been able to get him to eat anything at all today. But he's still in there, acting normal, other than being tired. But yeah, so I mean, we're just keeping an eye on him and really just prolonging the inevitable at this point. But yeah, it sucks, but we'll get through it.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. All our thoughts are going out to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but yeah, I mean, just thank you to everyone for your support and all the kind words, both publicly and in DM that I've gotten. So it really does mean a lot. So thank you for that.
It was cool. Anyone want to give some last minute call outs for before earnings? EPS estimate is 750 million. Earnings per share estimate is 0.08. It's 8 cents. So those are set by Pactor. Anyone got anything?
Yeah, I think we're going to do 810 for revenue and 28 cents basic EPS. And that is based on an assumption that we bought Bitcoin in Q1. If that assumption is incorrect, which is higher than a 50% probability that it is, I think, then I'm expecting 13-cent basic EPS.
Nice. Either one's a
Market's
beat. I'll
closed.
take that. Yeah. Nice. That was Bad Robot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I got an order in at the last second.
Did you? Yeah. So are we closed yet?
Yep.
$30.16. Oh wait, 30.15 is the close.
Closed at what was it? Yeah, 30.15.
One 8.94 million.
30.16 is what Weeble's telling me now.
Yeah, I know. The chart says 30.16, but my watch list says something different.
Yeah. And here comes the volatility.
Yeah, let's
Do
see.
I go full degen again and do the 1 second chart?
Yeah, you got it. Oh yeah, that was a nice little pop right off the close here. 30.44 high. Is that high today? No. We touched 30.70 at pre-market.
That's a little more than a nice little pop. That's a nice pop.
Yeah. Who was that? Was that Swami?
That was Bad Robot.
Sorry, I'll get
That
used to
sounded
your
like Bad
voice, dude.
Robot.
No
Yeah.
worries. Hey, while we're waiting, just before we came online, I was talking to Paulie. I was expecting that, going back to that probability when I was giving out my predictions, I was expecting, if we didn't buy Bitcoin in Q1, there would be nothing in the consolidated cash flow statement showing appreciation or depreciation of unrealized or unsold digital assets. But Paulie reminded me that that GameStop has held other digital assets for quite a few years now, that up until January 2025 and the FASB accounting rule change, they were not required to report on its value, but they will be. So even if GameStop did not buy Bitcoin in Q1, we should see a brand new line item on the consolidated cash flow statement, specifically where it talks about net cash flows from investing
It's moving.
activities for digital assets.
Nice.
Holy fuck, dude.
Hold on, let me pull my shit. I can
It's
forgot.
going all over.
Oh
We're
yeah,
going nuts
what was
right
that,
now.
Canada?
The volatility is unbelievable. It's wild.
Barcodes on
Just
the 1
refreshing
second here.
SEC filings.
3092 hitting
Results.
31.
Shit, 31,
yeah.
almost 31.
Results are out.
That's gotta be good news, guys.
Results are out.
Where are they?
Let's go.
Net sales.
What is that? What is that?
I got net sales here.
I dropped it in chat.
All right. Yeah, net sales are 732.4 million compared to last year's 881.8. SG&A expenses were 228.1 million compared to 295.1, so they went down on expenses. Operating loss was 10.8 million for the period compared to an operating loss last year of 50.6 million. So operating, they had a loss.
Yep.
But that's globally. So first quarter operating loss includes 35.5 million of impairment charges related to international restructuring efforts. Excluding the impairment charges and other items, adjusted operating income was 27.5 million for the period compared to an adjusted operating loss of 55 million for last year's first quarter. Net income 44.8 million for the period compared to a net loss last year of 32.3. So
Huge, guys. Huge.
Yeah, that's great. Excluding impairment charges and other items, and adjusted net income 83.1 million for the period, compared to an adjusted net loss of 36.7 from last year. Yeah, huge.
Oh shit,
turnaround.
we were all wrong. on the Bitcoin purchase. We were all
Yeah,
wrong,
see,
all
May.
of us theorizers,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
me.
There's a little note.
Yeah, they purchased the Bitcoin between May 3rd and June 10th for cash.
Yeah, and
So
the cash
that's
flow
under
came.
subsequent events. So they also completed the divestiture of Canada on May 4th.
There you go.
So
That's
that
when that
was
transaction closed.
yeah, yeah. So that was after the quarter ended. So yeah, so that's important. So so the Canadian sale will not be in these numbers.
Yeah, so
So
nothing's
so the,
nothing's
so
really
so
in
it's
these numbers.
so it's this strong without the appreciation of the
Correct.
Bitcoin and without the Canadian sale.
Wait, what
So
was
cash
EPS? I
cash
missed.
cash equivalents and marketable securities were 6.4 billion at the close of the first quarter compared to 1 billion at the close of the prior year's first quarter.
Wow.
Wow.
So if I just want to point one thing out real quick. If they were doing like pieces of Bitcoin at a time, between that entire window, they just basically bought that whole dip, like all the way up to June 6th is where Bitcoin made its low. So what does it say? May 3rd to June 10th. So right in that window is just buying the dip if they bought every day, like in pieces. So that's pretty sweet. IMO. Thank you.
Yeah, when was
Yeah.
the conference? The conference was what day was the
27th to
Bitcoin?
29th.
Yeah.
All right, so
May-
it was
May- yeah.
between the third and then the 27th or so, and that thing seemed recorded prior for sure. So, yeah, I'd feel pretty safe. It was probably maybe pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it
it's
just says that it
interesting
was
how he said that.
between May 3rd and June 10th. That is
Ideally, it was just right
that
at the
is
very end of that window.
yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, that is an interesting way to phrase that because the announcement came out on May 28th. So
Yeah,
they already had it by then.
yeah, Swami, I agree. By the way,
Right.
we might get smoked off this, guys. Yeah, just
Yeah, this is
fair thought.
underwhelming for me personally,
Yeah.
but I think the only thing I could see is it just trades sideways because of the bond arbitrage, and they just want more Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, one thing actually a few things to point out. Number one is that we all know that GameStop had close to 6.35 billion cash on hand due to the raise they did. But part
Right.
of how the algorithms that attribute to price discovery and algorithmic price categorization in the markets, they don't really go off of hearsay or projections, even if it's a completed race, they go off of the last reported earnings. So, one thing's for sure, now that we have it on the books stated via SEC filings that we have 6.4 billion cash in hand, that is going to affect our stock algorithmically. Positively, negatively, sideways, I'm not sure, but that's in my book, that's a net positive.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's good. I'm happy with it, but this is what's going to happen just because they take their opportunity.
Yeah.
And even average news, we missed sales, we beat EPS. It's just kind of expectations.
Yeah.
This is what happened. So, but who knows? I mean, it's we got shareholder. I don't want to even try to get excited for shareholders because that doesn't happen. Nothing really good comes out of shareholders. So I don't want to say that we might get something between now and then, but we've seen earnings dump at night, the after earnings, and then the next morning we just start taking off again. So
Yeah,
who
this
knows?
is a diluted income per share of 17 cents.
Arcane, you're not
Kind
able
of
to come
wild,
up.
guys. If the collectibles line, obviously Ryan Cohen stated in that interview that our focus for the legacy business is shifting. The weighting is shifting more and more towards collectibles from gaming. Just in Q4, for the Q4 report year over year from the previous year, we were up from like 17% to 20% for percentage of revenue that's attributed to collectibles. For this quarter compared to last quarter, or for Q1, We're up from 15.5% of total revenue being collectibles to 28.9. That's an insane jump.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's
that's
nice.
it's a huge increase.
I like that. 28.72.
Yeah.
Where are we at right now? 29.05, 29.13.
Whoa,
Let's see
they're
if that.
dropping us, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's
hitting. They're fucking
that's
us up.
Big
been a
red
big week,
candles.
there.
Yeah, it's all right. Whatever. It's not like I had calls or anything. Whatever.
I got
You win
faith.
some, you lose some. Yeah, I have a whole 7 day. No, next week, whatever the fuck that is. So yeah, whatever though.
Wow. Without
see
the
if-
asset impairments, without the expenses for closing some of the European operations, which directly affects the operating income, we are 25 million positive for operating income. That's kind of
Yeah.
that's a one-time expenditure, that 35.5.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, and check out the free cash flow too. That's yeah. So last year Q1 was a negative 115 million basically, and this year free cash flow is positive 189 million, almost 190.
wow.
That's an enormous turnaround.
That's insane, dude. Our whole year free cash flow for 2024 was 146 million for the whole
Yeah,
year.
and that's a 305 million dollar turnaround year over year.
What? That's wild.
Yeah. When was the last time we were positive in Q1? By the way, I wanted to look at that.
Never.
It's been a bit. Yeah.
Not in this era. Yeah, not in this
Right.
era. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I wanna key in on like if there's nothing else that we want to look at on the statement here.
Well, let's see. Anyone out there? We got some folks. Ben, how are you doing, man? How are you feeling about this Bitcoin?
I want
You
more Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know you do.
I think it's coming.
That's all I'm waiting for, man. It's
Yeah.
he when Ryan talked about the thesis for why they bought any on a call, he gets it. He understands what it's for and why it's good and why they need more of it. So I'm not sure why they're not buying more yet, but it's gonna happen. The orange pilling process takes time.
Yeah, so now that you said, I think about that note means that they haven't bought any. Oh, sorry, I bumped my head. They haven't bought any since the conference, right? Like at least up until the 10th. So we can know that he hasn't been buying since then. So I don't know if that's good news, but it's just made me think of that. Yeah, I want more too. I wonder what they're doing. I want to know. I want to know what the plan is.
This is insane though. I think someone just said it, but adjusted operating income was 27.5 million for the period compared to an adjusted operating loss of 55 million in the prior year's first quarter.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Big
insane.
swing. Yeah, one of the things I'm looking for right now in the 10Q. So GameStop has around 1,600 leases, 1,647, I think, something like that, leases that are expiring in fiscal year 2025. I was looking to see, if you just weigh that out on average by 4 quarters, which obviously is not how it works, but that's about 400 stores. At the end of fiscal year 2024, we had 3,203 stores. So if we just assume that we right now have around 2,800 stores, that's, I think to me, what that says is, what part of the transformation are we in? Like people have been wondering like, oh, we still have another 1,600 stores going. So is it another year? Well, might be for the infrastructure to shrink, but I think the part of the transformation where the focus was on key performance indicators, KPIs for the business, such as payroll, cost of goods, et cetera, those things being adjusted, I think that project is complete, which is really bullish to me for a couple of
I
reasons.
agree.
One, things like free cash flow and operating income shows that even with quote unquote declining revenue, that's primarily based on a reduced store count, that our profit margins are inversely affected and would continue to be. And two, that may, and this is more zoomed out and esoteric, but to me, I've been preaching for the past month and a half or so that I think Ryan's focus for the first 4 years of owning this business, 95% arbitrary percentage there, was on turning the business around and stopping the bleeding, right? And maybe 5% of his focus was on revenue growth, and maybe 0.5% was on investment activities. Now, to me, given what I said with point one and that initial KPI focus of the transformation being over, I think that Ryan can afford to shift that and focus 30% on the legacy business and 70% on growth initiatives, both for the legacy business and the company in general, and also the investment vertical, right? Which is super, 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 super bullish.
Yeah.
Let's go. What's up?
Yeah. And we still have the shareholder meeting later this week. And,
I'm trying
you
to
know,
not
right. But like, think about it this way. If shareholder meetings are typically bearish and we had earnings
nothing.
right, if they're typically a nothing burger and we had earnings early in the week, it seems to me like if you just kind of take everything into consideration, the shareholder meeting going into that, earnings was an opportunity to dump the IV. And Ryan Cohen said a few things in the interview that kind of made me really interested in what he had to say. Like, let's see here.
The GameStop was a piece of crap before he got here.
Yeah,
that was
like,
fun.
yeah, and like we talked about that a little bit, but like he said things like he repeated the focus on the thesis, right? If the thesis is correct, right? And he's never talked about the thesis, at least not on social media or any thesis. But Roaring Kitty has. He's talked about a thesis quite a bit, and he's talked about it on X. He's talked about it on YouTube, and so I started going back and looking at his posts. And you go back and look at the December, like his December 2020 posts, and he was talking about how if the bull thesis was still intact, you would see how the price reacted to what was ultimately bullish earnings that still got sold off. And so you look at where it found support, and it was at a couple of different moving averages, and what happened to the RSI and things like that. So that would be kind of like what I'm looking for in terms of the reaction here. And kind of like what we talked about on Sunday, like if GameStop were to lose 30 this week, I would expect it to find support around 27 or 27.50. But I also would not expect it to stay there very long. And what Roaring Kitty had said back in December 2020 was that hey, look, the bull thesis is still intact. GameStop's finding support around these levels, but also he said that earnings, that Q3 earnings back then opened the door for Ryan Cohen. And I just found that interesting because it seemed like a lot of the things that Ryan Cohen was saying in that interview felt like signaling to Roaring Kitty. And this earnings, this earnings feels like it's opening the door for Roaring Kitty if Ivy gets crushed and we get pushed down to a key support level. That is nothing more than a buying opportunity.
Hell yeah. I don't know. It's maybe I think RC has made his move, and now he's been kind of waiting for to see what Kitty's gonna do. I kind of feel like that's the signals he's been putting out for a while now. Swami, you out there, bro? How you doing, man? You been good? Let's see if he's near his
Yo.
mic. What's up, man? How are you?
Good. Trying to process the results. I'm trying to read the 10Q. Yeah, I mean my reaction is underwhelmed, but that's probably due to my own expectation setting. It's pretty much it's very straightforward, right? There was no secret purchase or anything like that. But
yeah.
I am curious about like what is the long-term strategy with Bitcoin, and why haven't they bought more? I would like to know that. Whether that's because he expects, or the investment committee expects that Bitcoin's going to have a severe price correction along with the rest of the market, and they don't want to buy the top. I don't know, but I would just like to hear it because it is interesting that they raised, $1.5 billion in convertible bonds, but they only have deployed a third of it. You don't see that. RC said, we're going to follow GameStop strategy. Okay, well, what is that? I want to know personally because I can't really put it together at this point.
Yeah, same. And one thing to note with that, with the using not using 100% of the cash raised, and this isn't necessarily counterpoint to anything you said, Swami, because I am equally curious to what the long-term strategy is around Bitcoin. But one of the things that my local bond desk guy was telling me when they issued the bonds in Boston, by the way, for listeners, was that he was getting comments from a lot of potential investors that they thought they had some extra security in GameStop, in that every other public company on the Bitcoin standard was in fact deploying every single penny they have, whether they're getting it through operating income, through equity instruments or debt instruments. Every other public company on the Bitcoin standard was deploying 100% of their reserves to buy Bitcoin. But one thing they liked about GameStop not doing that was that it presented some extra security for the volatility that Bitcoin brings for traditional investors that are looking to get their feet wet in having some exposure to Bitcoin. So that's just a thought that I've held and wondered how much of that is a part of Ryan Cohen's overall strategy with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I expect, this is my opinion, but I expect a significant market correction in the next 12 months. So if the strategy is that, hey, we're just establishing a beachhead, we may opportunistically buy, local lows, but our goal is to acquire Bitcoin at the lowest possible cost. Then, I just want to hear that. So that I don't know if we will, because typically we don't get forward guidance from GameStop. But I'm fine with that if that's the longer term strategy. The other thing I'll mention too, while I don't see this much on X, but the first early conversion period for the bondholders begins. It's around June 20th, and it runs until I think August 4th. And basically, the terms are if the price trades at or above 38.81 for 20 out of those last 30 trading days in this quarter, the subsequent quarter, a bondholder can do an early convert on their bonds to receive, shares or cash. So
yeah,
I'm interested to see.
June 18th is your beginning for
That's
that.
the date. Yeah, I'm very interested to see how the trading goes from that date forward, because I think we will see if there are some extremely motivated bond buyers who want their shares. So it's only 8 days away, and looking forward to seeing that period.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I can't believe we're already like middle of June. I'm just thinking about how we had that. Well, fuck. Should I say we haven't? There's no offering, right? We haven't gotten that one yet. That's good.
Don't say it. You said it.
Yeah, I said it.
It would be in poor taste for him to ask for money right now.
Yeah, especially because he hasn't spent it. So, but
Right.
Well, they're flush.
Yeah.
They're flush with cash. I mean, they have
Yeah.
so much cash in Bitcoin.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, I know it's a little frustrating, like if we all want stuff to happen quickly, but there's a liquidity drain coming. It's just because interest rates are 3x what they were 4 or 5 years ago. And all these, like GameStop, I think is just going to start looking more and more attractive when it's a business that's running a profit on their legacy retail. It has a great brand. It has retail investors, which I think institutions like for various reasons. And then they're going to be sitting on, like at the end of this year, if they don't do anything else, raising money, they're gonna have close to $7 billion in cash in Bitcoin. Like that's crazy. There's not a lot of companies of this size, this market cap that have that. So like long term, I think, they're doing exactly what RC has talked about in the past, exactly what like Larry Ching talks about all the time, which is, profitability. So long term, I'm bullish.
Hell yeah, me too. Let's see.
Yeah, that's a
Curious Cat.
higher cash to market cap ratio than every single S&P 500 company
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
you want
Not
to
even
talk
end
about
of year.
protective, a protective investment. Like, people don't short cash, or it's like, so yeah. When the when the NAV is that in that range, it's attractive.
All right, I want to say what's up to Curious Cat. How you doing down there? I haven't. We haven't. I don't think we heard. I think I caught a "Let's fucking go" from you earlier, but you've been scouring the filing at all? See, she's by her mic.
Yeah, I've been trying to read through all of it, but actually, I'm just here for Bobby's bathroom break. I'm still waiting for that to happen. I mean, aren't we all? Honestly.
Yeah, I'm curious. He's been muted this whole time. You down there, Bobby?
Come on, Bobby, bring it on.
Yeah, no. He said earlier in chat that he's been building one up for us.
Come for the earnings, stay for the stream.
Yeah. That's good. If you ever want to hear it, it's at the intro of last earnings. That was good stuff. All right. What's up, Alert? How are you doing? He put what's in other income. 2.2 million. Just random. Wasn't there before? And then Tree 50 put, I don't know, there's a little note from this filing. We have not set a maximum amount of Bitcoin we may accumulate. We also may sell any Bitcoin we may acquire. I don't know if the wording was like that in previous filings.
It was
okay.
it was like that when they approved Bitcoin as a treasury asset.
Okay.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, I think so.
Another thing worth noting, guys, is I saw that. Sorry, Fitz. I saw that Ryan looks like Ryan is actively. What a nerd! Ryan Cohen is actively flipping government securities, T-bonds. He's going. End of Q4, he had 265 million. Adjusted right now, he has 60 million. So he's flipping T-bonds. He's trying to make money for us. That's for sure.
He's grinding it. I imagine him just all fucking in the trenches, just.
Are we sure that's him?
T-bonds.
Maybe they have somebody advising them on the flipping of such bonds.
Yeah, it says U.S. government securities.
Yo, I am.
How's it going?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the share price isn't responding the way I'd like, obviously, but if I just look at the two things I want to see an EPS beat we more than doubled that, and I thought it was going to have to come as a result of a Bitcoin boost with the unrealized gains there, but that's not even on the Q1 balance sheet. So I think that's awesome. So if Cohen's flipping T-bonds to get us there, I mean, we're doing that without Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I think that's pretty incredible, especially with net income. I mean, I wanted to see that be positive in Q1 for the first time ever. So we got that, and by quite a bit. I mean, just looking at Q1 over the years, 2020 minus 165 million, 2021 we're getting about. They're listening to me. Am I controlling the algo?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, is someone in here? Kenny, are you listening, bro? We're catching a little bit of a bounce here. Let's see. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
minus 32 million last Q1 2024. Now we're positive 44 mil. I mean, if I just saw that, if I just knew that ahead of time, I'd be pumped. Without, I mean, I don't really know what we're just upset that there's not enough forward guidance, but there never is. So I don't know. I like the numbers.
There never is.
Well, look, these numbers are painting a picture, right? Last few earnings reports, not just the numbers, but there has been forward guidance in the reports in terms of what they're focusing on, and it's been reflected on a number of things, not the least free cash flow and some of these other numbers we discussed today. But also, you can see the change in percentage in revenue with the focus in collectibles really setting itself apart, and not to be not present because we're talking about the earnings reports that just came out. What is just so far from the information we got from this report and the information that we've attained from the company, just the equity research on the company and the segments it operates in, Q2 is going to be beyond historic. Not just the big from Bitcoin buys ranging from all bought in Q2, but we know the Switch. I just read 3 separate reports in the last 2 days that the Switch 2 is going to set console sales record previously held by one of the PlayStations. I forget, it was 4 or 5, which they sold 4.5 million units in 60 days. Right? And apparently Switch 2 is surpassing that. Except for what?
I was gonna say, except for the 10 people that had the staples fucking in their store. They got it
in Staten Island.
Yes. Yeah, they got it completely
Bearish.
blown up. Spurs fan, we are not having a dilution special ever. So just so you know, that cracked me up though.
Yeah, so there's going to be Bitcoin gains in Q2 report earnings. There's going to be this console sales is going to be reflected. Then software sales, because Switch 2 launched with a shit ton of games, including Nintendo's first foray into AAA games, right? Like Cyberpunk and Fortnite and all these games came out. Not only that, so that's Bitcoin gains Q2, console sales Q2, software sales Q2, and drumroll, PSA and collectible sales so far has only been active in around 1,000 stores, from my understanding. And the plan was by July they were going to activate an additional 500 stores, GameStop stores. So, I just think there's plenty of forward guidance here if you just look at the numbers and the words here and just what they're trying to paint for at least the immediate short term, what we can expect for Q2.
Oh yeah, we're looking good. I'm feeling great about it. Diamond Ape, are you still up here? Did I miss him? I was gonna try. He said something a little bit earlier. Well, thanks for stopping in, Diamond Ape. That's a bummer. Let's see, Lodo, how are you doing, man? I don't know if you're by your mic. I heard you before we started going, but how are you feeling about this? Let's see if he's got his.
Yo,
there he is.
Yeah.
What's up, man? How are you?
Trying to dig through the report. Clearly not what we wanted in terms of the lines on the charts, but this is nothing changes. So incredibly excited now for shareholders. Not that I think anything amazing is going to happen. It never does. Nothing ever happens. But no, I think I think I was really anxious about a stock offering or something happening that would end up further diluting or like ruining a good earnings. But I think I gave it a little more thought right before earnings came at market close and kind of debated myself and argued against that in my head to realize that having just done the convertible senior notes offering and having a lot of money in the first place, it would seem like a bad move to just issue more stock or do some other kind of offering through some other instrument to get more cash when it's not exactly the play right now. And I think it would, yeah, when we're this close to operational, like we're more operationally efficient and we're this close to operational profitability, it would just feel like a sort of stab in the back to shareholders who have been waiting on that for so long. And even though we're not there yet, we're very close. And so I'm not so worried about that happening. And I don't think there's going to be I think if there were any bad news, they would have tried to convey it somehow in this earnings report. So I'm not expecting anything bad for shareholders. So yeah, just excited to see what's coming up next.
Excellent. Yeah, see, like I'd always felt like if we made it through shareholder or the earnings, that we're safe from the offering. But then last quarter, we got the bond offering the day after, which I thought was pretty cool that RC like let us have a day if anyone had take some profit. That's really cool because usually hadn't done that. But now I guess I'm not gonna feel safe until probably fucking Friday morning. I think Friday morning I'll feel like we are in the clear. I know we got tons of cash, but we've had tons of cash for a little while now, and it hasn't stopped them. So
Well,
I'm not gonna feel clear till we're like gone through the week.
Well, one thing on that, uh, I know this is a public company, and I know that public company valuations are so very different from private company valuations. But one thing I've been thinking about uh, is that the raises we did last year. Uh, if you look at it from the lens of how private companies raise from the private equity markets, they do a seed round and then they do a Series A, a Series B, a Series C, and their valuations supposedly change through these different series of raises that they do. And in most cases, the valuations increase, right? Because the business changes, grows, etc. So going back to my original point, hyper aware it's not apples to apples. This is a public company. Offerings are done on a very different metric scale. But if you look at last year, 2024, when we did those raises, if you look at the fundamentals, how much revenue, how much key performance indicators, our losses, our gains, etc., our balance sheet, the raises they did last year, based on whatever valuation, let's call it X, the valuation of the company today is much, much, much different. In my opinion, it's a higher valuation than we had last year. As such, if Ryan and Larry, who's a private market operator, if they're thinking about it in this way, if there's even a slight chance they are, I don't think we're going to see raises in this range. In my brain, the new raise range vis-a-vis what I think the current valuation of GameStop is in the $40 to $50 range.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw someone say, and I'm leaning into this one heavily. He doesn't want to, because he has that loan against his shares, that it would put him at risk if he were to dilute it too hard. I don't know, whatever. But I'm gonna lean into that because fuck it, I don't want no more dilutions.
Well, he doesn't even necessarily have a loan against shares. He just has his shares in a margin account.
Yeah. For whatever reason.
I don't see a raise anytime soon unless something drastic changes for two reasons. One, the volume is not there. He's only done raises into volume. Even the September 24, like there was a run up prior to that. There was some increased volume, and it's just completely dropped off since we hit that peak at the end of May. And then the other reason is because I don't know why they would do another bond raise when they haven't even exhausted the current one. So I'm not worried about.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about any dilutions. And in fact, it's probably a good thing if they do a dilution in the near future because that means something changed drastically and volume started happening.
Guy hanging himself with the toilet paper gif. Every time I hear the word deletion, that's it.
So, what do you guys think this all means for not just the potential raises and all the factors that we're used to that indicate whether we're getting one or not? Just everything we've talked about. Where does that leave our buddy Kitty? Like, where is he? What's the deal? Is he going to make some moves now? What was he waiting for? Was he waiting, etc.? What are your guys' thoughts?
That's the $1 million question. I really don't. I don't know. I thought
To
maybe the
accumulate.
Bitcoin might have been part of this. Here's the thing. I mean, they could issue a dividend tomorrow. Like
Oh yeah,
that might be what Kitty is waiting for. To be honest, like, give me something for my shares, give it to me, baby. But like, if nothing
yeah.
changes from here, I don't see him getting active unless there's a precipitous price drop, and there's a really good entry, or they buy a ton of Bitcoin and Bitcoin explodes. Like, there's got to be a catalyst for him to get engaged, in my opinion. And what we see today, I don't think it does, unless he's dissatisfied with this and wants to make some noise by buying more shares in Ryan Cohen.
Yeah, that would be baller. That'd be baller.
Yeah, and that thought crossed my mind as well. Like, if they're kind of slow rolling all this while maintaining a healthy cash position, that can also be kind of leaving the door open for an activist investor to come in and kind
Almost
of
like
say,
bait.
like, right?
It's like they're baiting him.
It's pretty good bait.
They're not pulling the trigger on the Bitcoin fully, and if you want something to happen sooner, this was not the earnings for you.
Yeah.
So
you should fight one another for the honor of leadership.
Yeah, let's duke it out. Let's see. Come on, Kitty.
So we got to 29. We're at 29.18 in after hours trading right now. So I'll be happy if we open up above 29.25. That'll just be like the 5th time that's held. I'm not going to count this little pre-market dip because we fell down there on the 30th of May too. I don't know. It's feeling like really strong support. This range right here. We got that gap at the 28.50. But I don't know. Maybe that one will never feel like the other two below it. Isn't it? I mean, it's not bad. These are good earnings. I'm very pleased with it. Yeah, it's just, we all know how the fucking shorts are. That's the problem.
Bull
We know what they're
thesis
gonna
is
do.
intact, I would say.
Yeah. It's
I
exactly
think-
where we were yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great way to say it. It, like, obviously we'll have to see what happens during normal market hours, but the reaction that I've seen so far, in after hours, seems indecisive. Like, there was a drop, probably, whoever wanted them to buy more Bitcoin, they might have said, "All right, we're out." I don't know. But now it's just kind of floating. It's floating along on low volume, and to me, that's indecision. We'll have to see tomorrow, though.
One big thing that I found on the on the condensed consolidated balance sheet that was interesting to me was that both. So I'll go line by line. Two line items really. Accounts payable was pretty much 282 million last year at this time, and currently it's 198 million. So that's around an $84 million reduction in aging AP, which is just what you owe to vendors, suppliers, etc., which to me signals better inventory management than before. And the other thing, similarly, and I touched on this earlier, was in terms of the current portion of operating lease liabilities. Last year at this time was $177 million on the balance sheet, and right now it's 113.
Hey, I got a question for Bad Robot. He's our balance sheet guy. How did their free cash and cash equivalents go up by $150 million? Like that's way more than
Yeah,
they'd
man.
get from the interest income. I'm trying to figure that out. And the
Yeah,
Bitcoin
yeah.
has not
So
gone up enough to, I don't think,
no,
make up the other.
no, and FYI that. So if we just go down to the consolidated
Statement of cash
net
flows.
cash flows, and you'll see it separated by three sectors, pretty much: investment income,
Operating activities.
operations. Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
And then financing.
Yeah.
Tony, what's up,
No,
bro?
dude, you know, first of all, free cash flow is king. That's one of my favorite key performance indicators. And really, the answer to your question, without going into specifics, which we can, is that this has Warren Buffett's prints written all over it. This is what Buffett is known for: is balance sheet wizardry, balance sheet consolidation is what they call it. Especially when he buys into a new company and has control or has a lot of influence through the board. This is RC tweaking with all the different lines on a balance sheet, starting from gross sales all the way down to current portion of lease liabilities to just all sorts of little things all combined. That's RC's work. That's what he's been focused on. So I really think it's a big thing that we should focus on and that we should judge his actions by, because his direct actions lead to that change in free cash flow.
Absolutely.
I want to see RC at more basketball games. Fucking cutting it up. I like that. Like, we got to see him out quite a bit. And he looked like he was having fun. I like that, RC. That's good
Same.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All those puts are still there. None of that changed today either. Like, we were literally where we were yesterday. See, anyone else want to come up before we get out of here? I saw you come in, Tony. When is tight like a man, bro? We need that shit soon. Steed, what's up, man? High stakes. I don't think I said hi to you. Carby Barbie. I think you just got here. Tight like a fucking man. Let's see. Wally, you want to come up, man? He's down there. I think I said hi, Buller Busty.
Hey, I got to run, but I want to say one other thing, Fitz. Number
up?
one, thanks for having me. Appreciate you and everybody else so much. Love this community. But, to my last point of balance sheet consolidation a la Warren Buffett. Now, I've been tracking Warren Buffett for almost 20 years, and I've looked into pretty much his 50 years of his investment activities. Only a handful of times, he consolidates the balance sheet to the point where, just like what we're seeing from this GameStop earnings report, specifically what I'm talking about is basically Ryan's sitting on all cash, even marketable securities. This time last year, he had 83 million. End of last quarter, he had some. Right now, he has zero marketable securities in hand, as in he has zero bonds in hand. He is all cash and Bitcoin. Okay. This to me, not just that, but just looking through the 10Q, I'm seeing a lot of signs of consolidation. What that signals to me personally is that he is looking to make some moves. I don't know if that's buying more Bitcoin. I don't know if that's equity investments in other publicly traded companies. I don't know if that's equity investments in privately held companies. But when a balance sheet and a company is consolidated cash-wise in this way, it means that they are certainly looking to deploy some capital. So that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, that's
Thank
coiling to strike is what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be nice. I just opened up Twitter, and I'm gonna close it again.
I was gonna say, was that a mistake?
Yeah, there's just I went right to my notifications, and it's not. I don't know. I expect it though. That's how it is.
Wow. wow, guys. I mean, this is the biggest thing for me, I think, from this report is cash provided by operating activities.
Yep.
Period end Q1 2024 was $109 million loss. Okay, cash provided by operating activities. That means cash flow from the legacy business was $109 million loss. This year, cash flow from the legacy business was $192 million positive. That's a $300 million swing.
Yeah.
That's dope.
In
What
cash
is that?
provided by operating activities. While we lost how much revenue, Paulie?
It
Fuck.
was
How is this
like
even possible?
$170 million.
We lost $150 million revenue from the legacy business and gained $300 million in cash flow. That is pure sorcery.
Ryan Cohen, chairman of the year.
Yeah.
He should have got it for 2024 by adding $4.5 billion.
But he's done nothing.
Yeah,
he's done nothing.
Yeah,
He continues to do nothing.
Shareholders. Yeah,
nothing.
So
nothing.
I'll leave it at that. And what I'll ask you guys is, as we hear over the coming days and weeks that, oh, look how Ryan's just doing nothing year over year. Let's, as a community, just represent the truth of what's happening on this balance sheet and at this company. That, what I just said with free cash flow and cash from operating activities from a business that's been deemed dead and a business that's been deemed as non-turnaroundable, that looks like a $300 million that says otherwise, right? So I'll leave it at that. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bad
thanks for
Robot.
joining us.
Good shit. Thanks for coming. Yeah, that's
bye.
good. Bye. All right. Well, I think we might get out of here. I don't know what to expect tomorrow. I mean, I think it's built into us that we're probably gonna get beat, but I think that, like Paulie was saying, 2750 holds. If anything, I think we fill that gap down at 28 something or other at the worst, because things are looking good. Anyone got anything they want to add before we get out of here? Paulie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried. The report is good. The response is running counter to that, so I would expect for the dip to get bought. So, earnings was on earnings was on Tuesday. So if you were in weeklies, just keep that in mind. Keep a zoomed out perspective and manage your position accordingly. So I'm not worried in the slightest. Most of my option positions are for either this month or much longer out. So
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming out to the show. I really appreciate it. We missed you, Chuck. We missed you, Echo. Hope you guys get back soon. We'll be back next week. Thanks for everyone who talked, came up and spoke, and thanks for everyone who was listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
All right, you hear me?
That's funny.
Yep. Now we got
you.
you.
Hear me though? All right.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. I think I got the end. Did you get the ending out or no? Did that happen?
Yeah, I think they heard me the whole time.
All right. Well, hold on. Did you hear me say goodbye or no?
No.
All right. Well, let me try this. Hold on. 3, 2, 1.